A contract taken by Geralt in White Orchard to take care of a so-called devil lurking around a well. Sounds rather straightforward as Witcher contracts go. Go to the well and remove the devil. But the story behind what the devil at the well is and how it got there is rather dark and quite sad. In this Witcher lore video, we're going to be taking a closer look at the story behind the devil by the well. Let's start from the beginning. While in a small village just past the Wosong Bridge in White Orchard, Geralt comes across a note on the town's notice board asking for a witcher to help remove a devil hanging around a well. Upon speaking to the man Odolin, the contract's issuer, the devil by the well is described as a woman fresh from the grave with flaking skin that howls as if it's suffering. From this, Geralt concludes that this devil is some sort of wraith or alp. The man also reveals that the presence of this devil has caused his young daughter to become sick, as they have to use the water sources that are contaminated by the dead bodies from the war with Nilfgaard. After speaking with the man, Geralt makes his way to the abandoned settlement of Hovel, where the well is located to begin his investigation. As Geralt approaches the abandoned settlement of Hovel, the Wraith appears next to the well, and straight away Geralt recognises it as a Noon Wraith, and wonders to himself why the Noon Wraith would be bound to this place. According to the bestiary, a Noon Wraith is a spirit of a young woman or girl that died a violent death right before their wedding. Noon Wraiths are often tethered to the world of the living by an object of intense emotional significance and wander the place they're bound to in search of their unfaithful lover or backstabbing rivals. But they do not discriminate when it comes to killing. To remove a Noon Wraith, one must gather the remains and the object that binds them to this place, and then burn them. Geralt decides to wait until midnight before entering the village to search for something that could be binding the Noon Wraith to the well. After a few hours of meditation, the sky darkens and as a result, the Noon Wraith disappears. With the shroud of darkness, Geralt enters the village to begin his investigation. This is where the story behind this contract starts to reveal its dark side. The first thing the Witcher notices is that the ground surrounding the well is torn up in a circular pattern indicating this is where the Noon Wraith is bound to. Now Geralt just needs to find the object that's binding it. Geralt searches the hut to the east of the well and comes across a yellowed diary sitting on the bed. The diary belonged to an inhabitant of the settlement and has 3 entries on 3 separate dates. Entry 1 reads, 27th of the 3rd, 1250. It's happened. Volker sent a petition of our grievances against the Lord to the court of Vizima. Listed all the harm he's done to us, how he killed Johann for not taking off his cap quick enough, how he trampled our fields when drunk with nary a thought of repayment, how he barged in during Peter's wedding and demanded his right of the first night with the bride. Now we've finally got what we begged Melitele for in our prayers for so long. The judge recognised our grievances and waived all our bonds and duties to the Lord. We can finally strike out on our own. At last, we can live as free men. Entry 2 reads, 12th of the 4th, 1250. The first day of our freedom. Hovel's not much of a village yet, but to my mind, it's better than the most fantastic palace. Volker fumed our home with hazelwood smoke to drive out the evil, buried a marten under the gate to make sure no thieves cross our threshold. And then he gave me a bracelet, loveliest I've ever seen. Mother said it's foolish to spend so much on a bauble when we haven't ploughs nor hoes, and that we ought to return it to the merchant. Over my dead body, I'll never take it off. It'll always be there to remind me of Volker, of how happy we were that day. The final entry, entry 3 reads, 23rd of the 4th, 1250. They say the Lord is coming to see us, that he wants to make a deal, to beg us to return to the village. They say he's calm since his son died, that he's not as quick to anger about small slights. Well, we'll see. One way or another, I have no intention to move 1 inch from here. So from this diary, it's shown that Volker and his wife, along with some others, split from their previous village in order to escape an abusive lord. It also mentions a bracelet Volker got his wife, that she got rather attached to, as it reminded her of the happiness she shared with Volker on that day. This bracelet fits the criteria of an object that possibly binds the Noonwraith. Also, it's noted that the same abusive lord is coming to visit Hovel. This is the last entry. Geralt makes a note to keep an eye out for the bracelet. Over by the window, on the floor, are the skeletal remains of a man that was stabbed and killed in one shot. After examining the bloodied skeletal remains, Geralt notices more blood next to the man. Interestingly, this blood does not belong to the man that was stabbed. The trail of blood led Geralt to the front door of the hut, where upon a closer look, Geralt could see small woman-like handprints, and signs that the woman had been wounded in a struggle. Geralt also noticed a trail leading towards the well. On the well, there's a rope tied to one of the posts, with palm prints similar to the ones found in the doorway that belonged to the woman. Geralt can see that the rope is taut, as if something is pulling on it. His hunch is correct. At the end of the rope, there are skeletal remains hanging by the neck with a bag over its head. Geralt pulls the remains from the well to inspect further. From the wide hips and small hands, Geralt concludes that this is the woman that was dragged from the house. This is Volker's wife. This is the woman that wrote the diary. The woman's arm is missing, and there's no sign of the bracelet that she so dearly loved. Possibly the weight of the bracelet caused her arm to fall off into the well. There was only one way to find out. Geralt leapt into the well in search of the arm and bracelet. At the bottom of the water was an arm with a bracelet attached. On the bracelet an inscription read, "From Volker to Claire." This was the bracelet that was binding the Noonwraith to the well. Though beautifully crafted, it had to be burned along with the rest of the remains. Geralt made his way back to the surface to destroy the remains by the well. As Geralt emerged from the small pond that led to the well, he noticed a small fishing hut that was part of the settlement of Hovel. Inside were the remains of a bound man with a sack over his head hanging from the roof, similar to what had happened to Claire in the well. Whoever did this spared no one. Once back in the village, Geralt reassembled the remains along with the bracelet, and then cast the sign Igni to burn them. As the remains began burning, the flames turned green, and in front of the well, Claire appeared in her Noonwraith form. All Geralt had to do now was kill the Noonwraith.
She's gone. For good.
Once the Noonwraith was dealt with, Claire's spirit was unbound from the world of the living, and she was freed. Though the devil had been banished from the well, Geralt was still left with many unanswered questions regarding the events that had transpired in Hovel, such as who was responsible for the horrific acts carried out here. Geralt had his suspicions, but decided to ask Odolin, the man who issued the contract, if he had any more information about what happened in Hovel. After informing Odolin that the devil by the well will no longer be a problem and receiving his reward, he asks if the names Claire and Volker rang any bells. Odolin says he doesn't know them, but that the herbalist Tamira possibly does. Therefore, to get closure to this story, that's where Geralt went. Tamira revealed that not only did she know Claire, but that she was close friends with her. Apparently Volker, Claire's husband, had had a disagreement with the Lord and left to start a new settlement, just like the diary written by Claire had said. After this, the Lord and a few men rode to the settlement of Hovel to peacefully convince them to return, but apparently Claire said something about the Lord's recently deceased son that enraged him, and then led to the events that happened at Hovel. However, this is only the side of the story told by the living party. As written in Claire's diary, the Lord was a man with a short fuse, and had a history of killing people over small things, as small as not removing your cap quick enough. Therefore, this isn't the most reliable of sources, Not to mention the signs Geralt had come across in Volker and Claire's hut. If you remember back to Hovel, in their hut, Volker was stabbed and killed within the bedroom of the hut, and from the bloodstains we can see that Claire had been attacked and wounded while next to Volker's body, and then was dragged out of the hut to be hanged in the well. This seemed personal. What I think happened was that the Lord came into the village with bad intentions already, which frightened the villagers and caused them to flee into their homes, where they were all mercilessly killed as some sort of punishment for leaving the Lord. I think this, as the only dead human remains, apart from Claire, were all found in their huts, like the fisherman that was found in his hut hanged. I think that the Lord's men somehow forced their way into Volker and Claire's hut and found them hiding scared in the corner, to which they stabbed Volker and then did what they did to Claire. You can see from the state that they left Hovel in, that they went there to send a message to anyone that dared leave them. This heinous act backfired on them though, as it brought on a noon wraith that wouldn't let anyone near the well they so sorely needed. But luckily, a witcher came along to get rid of the noon wraith. And that's the dark story behind the Devil by the Well. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe for more lore or story type videos related to the Witcher universe. Thanks.